Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to our another episode of the Fear Factor podcast. And I was inspired at the end of our episode last week to talk about this topic today, and I want to share with you on everything about how to trust yourself. And self trust is one of those most important aspects of honestly being an entrepreneur, from my experience. And you have to have faith in your abilities, and you have to know that you are capable of achieving the results and whatever it is that you want to create. And self trust, honestly, ultimately, is also the ability for you to survive also certain situations. And I can tell you, if it's not about trusting yourself or knowing the right actions every moment of the day or in every single situation, however, it is all about having the conviction to show up day in and day out, doing no matter whatever it takes so that you can move your life and business forward. And self trust, and also I want to really tell you, is very similar to anything in life. It's you get to practice it, and it doesn't always happen overnight. And in fact, it doesn't always happen, like it never happens overnight. It has to be really a diligent process and practice to it. And today I really get to focus on three areas, three aspects of this topic. The first one I want to really share with you on what does it really mean to trust yourself? Secondly, why do you need to trust yourself? And last but not least, how do you practice it? And again, I have never been tested more often than since the pandemic hit. I was tested from being in the family setting with my daughter having a particular different kind of school setting, and all of the things that I have to really turn into. What does it really mean to trust myself in this process? And how do I stick it out through the end? And how do I pivot my business? And so let's start with that. Let's start with what does self-trust really mean? And self-trust is all about being resilient and staying in integrity and keeping your word. And what I mean by that is that when you are up to something, when you're saying that you're going to do something, it's important that you do it, because ultimately the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? And self trust is also about being able to hold yourself first. You hold yourself accountable first. It means accepting your wrongdoing, accepting your mistakes, and really owning any mishaps that you created. Ultimately, that's what it really means, is standing up for yourself, believing in what you have done, and that knowing that no matter what happens, that you have your own back, because there's nothing like it. Like, no one is going to be able to support you unless you know how to support yourself. No one is going to believe you or trust you unless you do that for yourself. And so, really put it into the work. I know this is uncomfortable, and I can tell you, there's never going to be an end to it where you really take your self trust to that next level, but you get to practice it. Every arena is really important for you to be in, so that way you can practice it. And I mean arena, meaning for life, for business, for relationship, for intimacy, whatever it is that you want. It really honestly starts with self-trust, and that's really what it means to be trusting yourself, is to you have your own back, hold yourself accountable, keeping your word, say what you say you would do. Okay. And then the second piece I want to talk about is, why should you? Like, why do you even need to trust yourself? So think about it. If you don't trust yourself, how are you going to be able to trust other people? Right? Like, that is just a natural um I guess instinct and innate, I guess intrinsic feeling. And for the longest time, I really thought that it's separate. Like, me trusting myself is one thing. I may not trust myself, but I trust other people. But honestly, after these many years of learning about trust and self development and in myself, what I really come to realize is that unless I trust myself, I'm not going to ever be able to trust anyone else. It really starts with ourselves. And why this is all related is because, we all have to go through certain situation of life, right? And you can feel a certain way about yourself after the fact. And by judging yourself, you have this whole experience of who you are, and you're not going to be able to really connect with who you truly are based on the experience, because oftentimes we put meaning on the experience. Okay. And why you really need to trust yourself, that experience, no matter good or bad, is meant for you to be able to, we talked about this last episode, that it's feedback for you. So in that process, you get to learn to trust yourself, even for the mistakes. So for those mistakes that I've made, whether, X, Y, and Z, I get then to really believe in myself through the process by continue to trust that no matter what happens, that I have made the right decision to get the right feedback rather than viewing everything as a failure. And another piece to this, I want to really share why you need to trust yourself first is that, for example, there is so much information. Everything is accessible for us at our fingertips these days. There's Google, there's YouTube, there's the media, there's the things. And if we are not diligent with learning to trust ourselves, we are going to begin doing things that is completely out of alignment with who we are. And oftentimes, like, the ideas of what we think it's great and things like that are mostly opinions of others and really expectations and our other people's perception of us. And I share that it's important for entrepreneurs to really stay aligned and really trust yourself, is that because there's so much out there. And I say this because for the longest time I really thought that I have to run my business like someone else is, like I have to run my team this way, I have to run. But until I learned how to trust myself, then I can really begin to be creative, like what really works with my family setting, what really works with my lifestyle, and how do I communicate, who am I as a person, what are my values, and all of the things. I share that unless you know what it is that you are about, stay trusting yourself and stay aligned, because otherwise then you are going to go out down a path that you don't really want to be on. And what you need to know is that unless you are doing anything illegal, anything like that, which I know you're not, is that being aligned to who you are is super important so that you can continue to do the work that you love to do. Because oftentimes it doesn't always happen that way. We always end up doing something else. And, you know, because we trust other people more than we trust ourselves. And that's why I'm really honing on the fact that if you are an entrepreneur, it's important that you learn to trust yourself, because only you know what's important to you, what really drives your business, and what's going to move your business forward. And ultimately, last but not least, how you can really build that confidence, how you can really begin to really trust yourself, is the practice of gratitude. And it's really easy to get really bogged down to the day to day, all the activities, all the to do lists, the responsibilities and obligations. If you are willing just to really get quiet, I talked about this already last episode, and I'm going to continue talking about it. It's the importance of really tuning into yourself and really understanding what really makes you sad, happy, or excited. That's how you practice confidence. That's how you can really build your self esteem. And then ultimately, chances are, if you're not taking the time and taking a step back to really ground yourself, process, and allow yourself to reflect on certain things, then that's when you get strayed to the wrong path. And really honestly, including yourself in, activities that's important. For example, like going outside is important, taking time out for yourself, however you do it. I can tell you it's not just for the exercise and weight loss and all of the things, but it's my practice ultimately how I get really aligned with what it is that I really want in life. It's taking, quiet time, no matter how busy, it could be a couple minutes. And you can get to learn, your body is very intelligent. Your mind sometimes get foggy and things like that, depends on, all the other factors, environmental factors, sleep and diet and things. But your body is very intelligent. I know that when I'm anxious, or when my shoulders are tight, it's because I'm working under pressure and I'm doing things. And like if my throat is tight, I'm meaning like I'm not fully expressing myself, I'm withholding, whatever it may be. And to really build that self trust, it starts with really trusting your body, your emotions, and what it is that you are really experiencing. And also, last but not least, you can practice, and I say that, and you get to eventually hear more about, this on a masterclass I'm putting together, is that you get to practice building self-trust and confidence with support. I know until I got into self development that I wasn't alone. There were so many people who are going through the same thing I was going through. I was really one of the biggest breakthroughs that I've ever had in my whole many years of self development up until this point, most recently as well. I'm still struggling with it, is asking for support. And honestly, I'm going to break it down and explain to you why this is all connected. The reason why I did not ask for support and for help for the longest time is because I was trying to prove that I was good enough. And because I was trying to prove that I was good enough, innately I was, but at the same time, I had this belief that I wasn't good enough. That's why I'm trying to prove myself. Hence, there you go. I wasn't trusting myself. But I got support from being in a community. I got support by hiring a coach and then allowing myself to be supported and then practicing asking for support. That's how I really got on to that magic of being able to see that, wow, I can really trust myself, and I can trust myself for asking for help. I can trust myself for asking the right questions. I can trust myself for making that XYZ decision. I know this is one of those topics that sometimes we overlook, but I was really inspired by our last episode as one of those last piece of like, ultimately how to get unstuck is really almost ultimately really trusting yourself. And to trust yourself, you've heard it, the first thing is you have to keep your word. What does it mean to trust yourself? For you, what does it mean to trust yourself? And then secondly, why do you need to trust yourself? Understand that. And last but not least, you get to practice it by practicing gratitude, by really appreciating yourself for who you are. And then ultimately, that's the magic. That's what I have for you this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave me a comment, any questions that you have for me, and I look forward to answering those on our next episodes. But ultimately, I know that life is not always rainbows and unicorn, and you get to trust yourself in the process. Until next time, mwah.